Hello and welcome back, folks, to MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic. And in today's video, we're taking one more trip back to the LGS series. I did not want to end the series without talking about the couple of times I decided to participate in the league's standard events. I know it was very Commander EDH driven at the time of these discussions, but I thought I would be remiss if I didn't share at least that part as well. With the LGS participating, or with the LGS having the standard gameplay on Friday nights, was, I think that's pretty typical of most LGSs to have the standard being played during a Friday night, because, let's be honest, it's called Friday Night Magic for a reason. So, unfortunately for me, maybe not unfortunate, but Friday night was generally not a time that I would be able to partake in Standard, and honestly, Standard is not really one of my preferred formats. I like the idea of not continuously investing in a rotating format for the purposes of, I don't want to say being cheap, but just finding more economical ways to play. That's why for me, Commander is definitely my preferred format because of the way in which cards don't get banned. Cards don't rotate out. Your investments that you make into the cards, into your game pieces, they're long lasting. They don't, go away after a year, 2 years, or a month after it comes out because it gets banned. But anyways, so there were a couple of times that I was able to go and play, and I do specifically remember I would participate. And the times I would participate, I would finish the standard nights. Boy, I would finish almost every single time I would participate. I would finish 3-1, and that was the one thing that always, it still gets me a little bit. I could never 4-0. And all the times I participated in standard, and it wasn't a ton of times. I don't want you to think that I went and played standard 50 times. No. It definitely wasn't anywhere near 50 times. However, I will say, in the times that I did go and participate, I could never 4-0. 3-1 almost every single time, but I could never get to that 4-0. And the decks that I would go back and forth at that time, I had a Madness deck that was shortly after Eldritch Moon was released, when Shadows of over Innistrad and Eldritch Moon were both, standard legal, of course, because they had just released. So that would be one of the decks that I would use. I 3-1 there a lot. And then I also had a pretty fast, it was actually pretty strong for just being a mono white weenie deck. And that worked out pretty well. Always Watching was just an awesome card for that deck. You 1-drop, 2-drop, Always Watching, 3-drop, and then if they don't have an answer to the creatures, a la board wipe or getting rid of the Always Watching or anything else like that, well, that was pretty much going to be the game. So, but yeah, there was, a little bit of foraying into the standard environment through the LGS, but it wasn't anything spectacular. I never 4-0'd. I was never able to get to that point. But it was interesting how they were able to pull out the seedings through the randomization of the computer program that the owners of the LGS used to determine placement and who you were going to be playing each round. And that was pretty interesting. I liked it. I liked the way it was set up. It's just, for me, standard just is not, I know it's not for everyone. It's just, it wasn't for me. And it still isn't. I would, if the opportunity arose and the stars aligned and there was the ability to say, well, I got 3-4 hours on a Friday night, which, let's be honest, folks, that's just not a common occurrence for everybody. It was something that, go out, give it a try. Let's see, maybe you can win something sweet. And, with the decks, the Madness deck with the sub-vampire theme, that was my favorite deck. That I liked that a lot more than the White Weenie, and I'm not saying that in a negative way because the White Weenie deck was pretty good, but that Vampire Madness deck, that brought me back to the Shadows over Innistrad pre-release that we talked about many episodes ago, and how that was just one of my all-time favorite Magic memories. So I would definitely play with that deck. I would favor playing with that deck more than any other potential standard deck I could have made at the time. that was your boy MTG Burgeoning's short foray into the standard environment. Now, I never did participate in Modern there. At the time that I was regularly participating, I did not believe that I had the means or the ability to create a Modern deck that would be viable to take to a Modern League night at an LGS. Now, I'm just guessing that. I had never seen anyone play. I'd never participated in watching Modern or, just playing it even with somebody else's deck, which I would never do anyways. So I don't know exactly what the format or the archetypes were for Modern at the LGS. So I don't know. I mean, it's not so much that it would be just straight financially, because you can build some. I mean, Red Burn in Modern is not a very economically devastating deck to support. Neither are Bogles. I mean, you can just put Bogles out there. That's not. What am I doing here? Just go with Bogles. That's a very economically viable deck too. But sometimes the economics behind it, and we italicize what economics mean here in this discussion, is sometimes economics, well, that's time. And there's going to be points in time for everybody. At some point, I'm guessing, that time becomes a resource that is much more valuable than money. And when you get to a point where all of these different areas of life, peripheral areas, your direct area, your career, your family, there will be a time where time is going to be stretched, and time will end up becoming the most valuable resource. And that's okay. Just make sure that it's not always something that is put on the back burner. For me, and I'm not trying to be, preachy or soapboxy or however else you want to describe it, it was a process. It just becomes a process. You learn about it. You have to find a way to balance it. And again, this began with the discussion on standard, and now we're devolving into existentialism. And so let's just bring it back here for a moment and just say, so no, I never did participate in Modern at my LGS, and there was no consideration with participating in the Legacy or Vintage League either. That was just an absolute no. I have absolutely nothing equipped to support that format, and that is more economical than anything else. So that, I think, for this current series of Tales from the LGS, Tales from MTG Burgeoning LGS series, I think for the LGS portion, I think we're going to take a pause. And at some point in time, I hope to be back with more tales from the LGS. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.